Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today I review the Warhammer 40k novel, The Relentless Dead, by author Steve Lyons. As always with my reviews, I will discuss themes and narratives of the story, but avoiding anything I deem a major story spoiler. And so as usual, let's begin by checking out the synopsis off the back of the book. 500 years ago, Illyris III was ravaged by a chaos plague. Now it is a world of tombs and catacombs. It belongs to the dead. Colonel Graven and his 401st Krieg Regiment are charged with searching for a missing Inquisitor in the bone-filled ossuary tunnels beneath the planet. But the dead are stirring, and down in the labyrinthine darkness, his kill team comes face to face with unspeakable horrors. As whispering spectres seed fear and suspicion, turning allies into foes, the Colonel has ghosts of his own to battle. Haunted by a tragedy of his own making, and unable to trust anyone, even the most resolute Death Korpsman might start to doubt himself. But on this world, it could be the death of him. Okay, so author Steve Lyons has really become the go-to voice in bringing the character of the Krieg to life, having written several novels on them now. And it's kind of interesting to see how they've grown from these mysterious blank gas-masked soldiers to really having a bit more character about them. I mean, sure, they're still Krieg, largely lacking in personality and individualism, but they've really come to life with each passing novel that he's produced. And the premise of this one is great. A downtrodden, war-torn regiment of the 401st called in to assist the defence of Illyris, alongside their fellow militarum already there, namely the Vostroyan and Attilan regiments, not to mention the presence of the Adepta Sororitas as well. And this isn't your classic Krieg siege battle or grinding war, though sure there's plenty of that going on the world. This is far more a tense, investigative story of sorts, as Graven and his kill team are tasked with finding a missing Inquisitor named Idolax, who has gone missing investigating the rising problems and corruption within the populace. And as the synopsis covered, this is one of those Imperial worlds obsessed with death, the scars of its history. And so it has a very grim feeling about this one. Catacombs of the dead pretty much covering every inch of the world. And with night falling and spectres and ghosts rising, there becomes a very precarious question of what is real and what is not. What is taint, and what is perhaps merely psychological? A factor that comes to affect even the dedicated Krieg themselves, particularly Colonel Graven, who has a questionable history, shall we say. And this is a fantastic element that comes to the fore, as Graven himself soon finds himself a suspect of intrigue by the very Inquisitor he was searching for, Idolax. And I found the interplay, relationship and dynamic between the two of them to be absolutely brilliant. In fact, I enjoyed the presence of Inquisitor Idolax a lot. He has all the elements of your typical Inquisitor: supreme confidence, arrogance, suspicion of everyone, and yet he's not in the position of strength that they usually live in, with him having lost his retinue and been taken prisoner. So with him, you really get to see how absolute that mental commitment is to their duty, no matter what, and no matter who he feels the threat might be. And a shout out to the audio portrayal of him as a character as well, definitely my star portrayal. And this great interplay continues in regards to all the other Imperial forces as well, seeing how they each view and interacted with each other, and how that can change over time, with experience and shared duty. Vostroyan, Attilan and Krieg, not your usual Cadians or Catachans, And there's a particularly good storyline between Colonel Graven's Watchmaster and an Attilan Rough Rider, Sergeant Batu, getting to see just how these vastly different soldiers interact at first and get to know each other, and how the shared bond of duty can bridge those vast divides, turn an unknowing unfamiliarity to a growing respect, even dare I say friendship. But then also how that same sense of duty can break it as well. And once again, this is all well balanced and contrasted by the arrival of the Sisters of Battle, who really bring the dichotomy of faith into the story. And so without giving too much away, you have this fantastic moral war between duty and faith within the Imperial forces. Which one you let guide and govern your actions? The Sisters' faith to the extreme, and the Krieg duty above all else. And that really becomes clearer and clearer as the story develops and moves along. How, in truth, the Sisters' fanatical worship can actually be a big issue, coming at the expense of a more logical source of thinking. Even common sense. And it's all these relationships, motives and wars of will that just carries the story along wonderfully. And I found myself really enjoying it the more the story went along. Now, I do have to say there was a point early on in Graven's investigation where I did struggle to retain attention. And I can't quite put my finger on why. So I decided to use one of my Audible credits and switch to the audiobook from the hardback version I was reading. And putting my headphones on and cutting out the rest of the world, really giving it my full attention again, I did find myself back into the groove. And the second Idolax comes into the story, it's brilliant. So maybe there was a weak chapter or two near the beginning, maybe it was something else and I was just distracted. I'm not too sure. But either way, with the Inquisitor, it picked up quick. And honestly, I found it a refreshing change to a lot of Militarum stories. It was unique and different. And again, it focused more on its characters than over-the-top action, which is great, and it showed, with it getting better and better. So score-wise, I'd give it a 4 out of 5. A great read or listen and highly recommended. There were no points I leapt out of my seat or felt goosebumps, so it doesn't get a 5 out of 5 blessed by the Emperor from me. But I found it a great piece of character writing, and I really enjoyed how the author used all the relationships and dynamics between the Imperial forces, crafting a fantastic story. There's even a twist at the end that I didn't see coming. Again, yes, there was a moment early on that it did lose my attention slightly, but I don't know if that was the story or just maybe my state of mind, as the switch to the audiobook really dialed me back in either way. And again, after that, it just went from strength to strength. So as always everyone, what do you think? Have you read The Relentless Dead yet, and if so, what did you think? Or is it on your to-do list? As always, a huge thank you to all my subscribers for your support. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.